So do your photos look flat and lifeless? And you're trying to find a way to breathe some life into it and make them pop? In today's video, I'm going to share with you 3 tricks that will help your photos pop fast. And also apply both from Lightroom and Photoshop. Hi, my name is Carbell. I help you take amazing photos and videos and edit them as well with whichever equipment that you own. So if that sounds like you, consider subscribing and let's jump into the video. The first one is to add contrast with the tone curve. Now when you hear of contrast, just think about making the whites whiter and the darks darker and the blacks even blacker. That is the whole idea of contrast. And if you go to say let's use this image for example. I took this image this past Saturday on my way to make a little indie movie or documentary, whatever you call it. I took some pictures at the Trotro station. Now if you look at this image, there is the slider here, all right, where it shows contrast, and I could literally just take that one and drag the contrast up, and you can see clearly that the image as you can see right now, this is with contrast of 40 added. If I should just take it to 0, you look at him. But what we want to do is that we don't want to add a contrast just with the contrast slider. I want to use the tone curve to add a contrast. The tone curve gives us much more flexibility. We can actually choose where we want to darken and where we want to brighten. That is not something that we can do with just the ordinary contrast curve here. So if I go to the tone curve here, as you can see right here, if I click on it, all right, it gives me this. Now, understanding the tone curve is quite simple. We have the midtones, we have the shadows, we have the highlights, and we have the whites. Now the highlights are say the bright side, the bright part of the image. The shadows are the dark side of the image, and in between all of that is what we call the midtones. And the blacks are the very tipping black point, and then the whites are the very very white point. This image was actually exposed very well, all right. But look at something. The moment I click on this little thing here beside the adjust, okay, if I click on it and I bring my mouse cursor to any part of the image, you see look at the tone curve when I'm doing that. A little dot appears, okay, and what that dot is doing is that it's showing me where the parts where the mouse is on the image can be found on the tone curve. So if I bring that part to the very dark side here, you can see it's showing the blacks. If I bring the same mouse to the very white here, you can see where the tone curve is showing. So I can actually click and drag up, and I'll start affecting the image. I can click and drag up and start affecting the image. But obviously, I'm not trying to do that. You can click it back again to undo and double click on the dot to reset it. Now, when you come here, there's something called point curve, and in here we have linear. I can click on that, choose medium contrast, and then the whole thing will actually adjust and create something very contrasty for me. Look at the before and look at the after. Look at the before and look at the after. Now this is what we call an S-curve. An S-curve is very popular, and the reason why it's popular is that what it tries to do is that it looks like an S, all right, where you take the highlights up and bring the shadows down, so you get a very X looking curve here. And this one is a simple S curve here where you have the highlight just a little bit up, and then you have the shadows also a little bit down. If you want more contrast, depending on the image that you are working on, you can actually use strong contrast, and that will even give you much more contrast. I will stay with a medium. Now I'm just giving you this simple trick for you so that you can actually use it, all right. If I'm the one editing this particular image, I'll just take the highlights up just a little bit, all right, and I mean a little bit more. I want to create that dramatic feel. This adds a little bit more punch to the image. The second thing to make your images pop is to actually boost the colors in the image. I know, boost the colors. We're going to achieve this with vibrance and not saturation. If I should come to my slider right here, we have vibrance and we have saturation, and each of them have whatever they do. Now I'm never against saturation, okay. I love saturation, but I also love vibrance even more. The difference here is that saturation brings everything up the same level, but vibrance tries to bring everything up, paying attention to the colors in the image, also paying attention to which one is lower than which one, and it tries to balance things up so that way, for instance, if you had five levels of red and 2 levels of orange, and you brought saturation up by say 2, you increase both reds and oranges by 2, so you're going to get 7 here, and then you're going to get 5 here. You see, that's saturation for you. But if you had vibrance, what happens is that it will look at the image and then you realize that, oh, the oranges are quite low in this image. So what I want to do is I want to try and bring the oranges up at least a level up. So maybe here will go 1 and here will go say 2, just to try to match up the colors in there. Let me show you. If I should have saturation in here and I just bring our saturation this way, it's going to go, everything is just going to get like that. All right, but if I should reset that by double clicking and then bringing up vibrance this way, you realize that, you see, certain colors like the blue that were not there earlier are just finding their way into the image. So I'll just use vibrance, a little bit of vibrance in there, and then maybe I'll probably even drop my saturation just a little so that I can even crank up the vibrance more. And if you look at the before and after, and that is how to actually boost the colors in your image. Remember to use the vibrance slider. Let me add a little bit more of it just to feel better. And the third way is to use masks. Yes, I know masks. Now, when you have an image, depending on what was shot, what was in the frame, and what you are looking at, you want to emphasize certain areas. You want to force the human eye to look at certain areas and certain parts of the image, and not every part. And the way you do that is with mask. I'm going to go to the mask side. You can see that I'm using a very pretty old version of Lightroom. I think 2023. Yeah, I'm not really worried. Maybe I'm missing out on the AI features, but hey, it's good for me. All right. And the first mask that you want to get yourself very familiar with is what we call the radial gradient. Now, radial gradient is like say vignetting. Maybe you have dark areas coming from around the corner, but that is not what it is. Look at this. If I click on radial gradient, I can go and draw circles. Usually I'll have my circles going around the subject in the image. In this case, the lady selling what she's selling, biscuit, is the subject here. Now if I have this radial gradient around here, look at what happens when I take the exposure up, take it all the way up, and it's affecting everything. And obviously I'm not going to be doing that. All right, but what I will do is that I will just increase it a little bit just to make her brighter. You see, if I should just click on the eye beside my mask like that, you can see the before and after, and that's so sweet. Now the lady has gotten actually bright. And what I usually do is that when I actually brighten my subject up a little bit, all right, I want to click on the 3 dots here beside the mask and then duplicate and invert mask. It's very important. What I do is that when I do that, it actually takes the same mask, duplicates it, and reverses the mask. So now instead of selecting the subject, I'm selecting the background instead of the subject on that particular mask. So I just, with that one, I'll just drop the exposure just a little bit. Now this, I'm not saying this is what I'll do for this image. I'm just saying this is how I go about using my mask for my images. Obviously, I've not done anything with the normal basic sliders and my color grading. I've not done any of that. If I did, you realize that the image will be much brighter. All right. So now you see that if you see the before and after, you can see that now your eye automatically goes to your subject, and that actually gives your image that 3D and professional look that comes with photo editing. That is it. 3 simple tips. I made a video right here where I go about how to actually retouch in Photoshop. I've made both in-depth and both short videos as well. You can check that one out. If you enjoyed this, you are going to enjoy that one. Check that one out, and I'm going to catch you in the very next video. Peace.